Hello, everyone. I am Leona Abraham Brando, hosting this blog talk podcast for all of you today to hear, to enjoy. And if anyone wants to ask questions or chat, feel free to do so. Never miss a comment. Click on the chat message to display it on the screen, and I will answer your questions, or we can hear what you have to say. I am going to be talking today about politics, which is something that I don't usually like to get into, but we seem to have to because we're hearing it every second of every day, every channel just about. What I wanted to say is right now, it seems like there's a battle between upper class, the upper class economically wealthy, the richer or the wealthier, and the higher class, and then we have the wealthiest. I've been listening to the news and it's really getting kind of like on my nerves. I know it must be getting on all of your nerves as well. But we have people in this country right now that are complaining about all these things, the unjust things that are going on, and they're actually talking about the American people. When, in fact, I want all of you to know we, as the American people, are not the ones that are benefiting. I was watching the news today when one reporter was asking Donald Trump about the kryptonite that apparently the krypton, which apparently they are getting much millions and billions of dollars off of. And what the response was from Trump is that he turned around to the reporter and he said, "You're benefiting too, right?" He said, "Because you're not complaining." So I just wanted to let everybody know when we listen to the media, they're really upset, I think, more so with themselves because they're benefiting, but they're not benefiting as quickly as these others are, for one. Secondly, unfortunately, the American people is a word or two words that I'm kind of sick of hearing about. It's not about the people, the citizens in this country. It's not about the people in this country. It's always about the American people when, in fact, they're referring to themselves, really. Because every time I hear the word, oh, we're benefiting, it's for the American people. All of this stuff that's going on overseas is for the American people. It may be for the American people, but it's a certain amount or a certain class or culture in the American people. So we have people in politics right now who have been for years putting themselves above the people that are crying out to them for help because they feel they have that power, they have that title. Just like we have these lawyers, these people in law who can help and who have websites saying that they advocate for those, including those in prison. They advocate for those whose civil rights and human rights are violated, those who are being deprived, those who are having their properties destroyed, those who are being abused and violated. But yet, when these people cry out to them for help, including those in the prisons, when they cry out for help, they're always being turned down. One of the things I've learned in politics, and that includes law firms, that includes a lot of these people that have nonprofit organizations that provide legal services. They're getting all this funding, but I find many of them are helping their own. They're helping their husbands or their wives. They're helping their friend's friend. They're helping anybody that's connected with them in a more positive, friendly way. I want to say to the donors of these organizations, first of all, don't waste your money donating to these people unless you check to find out. Because once they get this money, no one is auditing them. No one is monitoring where these funds are going to, who they're going to, how they're being distributed. We need to start looking at this because there's a lot of people in prison who are seriously being violated and abused, deprived, provoked, harassed, targeted. A lot of them. And they're not getting the help. As a founder of an organization, I have reached out to many of these people as well to get help for these prisoners, especially those who are being seriously affected and seriously in need of help. Politicians will write a letter on behalf of a prisoner, perhaps, or make a phone call. Or sometimes they don't even do it, they have their aides do it. And the governor, I remember with one prisoner, the governor's office, the constituent services, was helping a prisoner until the superintendent found out about it. The very person that the prisoner was trying to get help to help him get away from the superintendent and the superintendent's ongoing targeting. The constituency's office was helping this prisoner until that superintendent called over to the governor's office, and everything stopped. That prisoner to this day has not gotten the help. Instead, he was transferred to a maximum security prison by the same person he was trying to get help from to get away from. And other prisoners were complaining about the same superintendent at the same prison. And that superintendent is still there. The problem's still there. The prisoners are still complaining. And yet the prisoner that was crying out for help was transferred to a maximum security prison. And no one to this day has fought for that person. They have illegally done everything they can to keep this person from getting help. And a couple of politicians initially started out to help. They wrote emails, made calls, made a call. When nothing happens, they completely backed away, hearing nothing more from these politicians. And I asked them, how do they feel now with people like Donald Trump and the wealthiest looking down on them as they look down on the prisoners, as they look down on the people in the communities that can't get help? What we have in this country, we have a lot of people in this country, influential, that are so busy trying to get in the media, trying to look good to the media. The news stations reporting the same old, and bringing on the same experts they call, who always say, well, I think this and I believe this. I'm not sure about this, but yeah, maybe that's, and yet everybody's judging, even when it comes to judging other countries, based on these experts that can't even be confident in what they're saying. And how many times have they been wrong? I hear people talking about this president that we have now, and yet I know so many people on the opposite party who are not saying a word. They complain about the person or the people on that side of the party. Yet their own party can't come together to speak out. I'm a Christian person, and I believe that this is all prophesied in the Bible. But at the same time, it's something that people who are constantly complaining can do something about, or at least try to do something about, by speaking out. I'm the type of person, if I think something needs to be get done, I'm going to do it. If I have the influence, as many of our leaders, our government leaders, if I had that kind of influence, I wouldn't be quiet about things. And if people reached out to me, whether it be a parent of an incarcerated, whether it be the incarcerated themselves, whether it be advocates at reaching out on behalf of these prisoners, I would definitely try to do my best, because that's how you get trust, and that's how you show people that you can be trusted. So many people have been sending me emails. So many have been sending emails because they're running, elections are coming up. So all of a sudden now, the very people that have been completely ignoring advocates, family members, or whatever, all of a sudden now they're reaching out to you. They're reaching out to me. People that I have gone overboard to try to get help for others, to no avail. And these are people that get funding. Many of us who have organizations are not asking for funding. We're working on volunteer basis, and we're recruiting volunteers to work with us. And so many people are grateful for the efforts that we're making, although we cannot do a lot of the things that we're asking the government employees to do, a lot of things that we're asking other nonprofits who are getting funding to do. We don't have lawyers in our organization. So we reach out to lawyers. Yet lawyers are denying a lot of these prisoners, left and right, they're denying them with no explanation as to why they can't help them. And those that are giving explanations are saying they don't have enough staff or they don't have enough funds. So if they cannot take on any more clients, any more incarcerated individuals, if they cannot take on any more people to help, they should put it on their website. We are temporarily not taking any new applicants because we have no funding, not enough funding, or we do not have enough staff. But you go on the websites today and you still see it. You still see it. These prisoner legal services around the country that can't help these prisoners should not be having on their website that they do. They should not be having on their website that they have prisoners who are seriously being abused, deprived, or are seriously being neglected, or are seriously being targeted. As for programs in the prisons, there are so many educational programs, and yet these prisoners, many of them around the country, are trying to take educational programs and being denied. And yet the politicians are being told one thing when they call about it. It's gotten to the point where the Department of Corrections, I think around the country, I know in a lot of states, but I think a lot of states, they're laughing. They're laughing at these politicians because they're lying to these politicians, and these politicians are accepting it. If they don't believe it, at least they're not believing it, but they're not doing anything about it. So when I hear this talk about the Republicans, when I hear the talk about the president, when I hear the talk about the Democrats, when I hear the talk about all these people, that's all they are. They're just people like everyone else. They may have titles, but it's not titles that people look at. It's the performances. It's the performances. And then when they talk about these other countries are all looking at this country right now, wondering why there's so much confusion, why there's so much ignorance going on in this country. And I want to talk to the American Psychological Association and the Department of Mental Health and all of these mental health experts who cannot see right before their eyes that this country has an epidemic of mental illnesses and addictions. And if they see that there's a problem with the mental health issues, then why are they not out there talking about it? You have all these organizations now. Donna Wynette, founder of Families and Friends of Individuals with Mental Illnesses. Franz Dow. These people, right now, these people are all advocating for the mentally ill in the prisons and in the communities. And yet, other organizations that are supposed to be getting all kinds of funding for their research, we already know the problem. So the research is about getting old news. We don't need to know that there's a problem in the United States with mental illnesses. What we need to know is how you're going to resolve it. In the American Psychological Association, you don't hear anything out there about them. These are people getting big time monies to research on the mental health issues in the United States of America. So here we have organizations that are trying to address mental health issues in the United States. And many of them have organizations that were not even founded to talk about the mental illnesses. They were founded to advocate for incarcerated individuals, only to find out that we have mass incarceration in the United States. Mass incarceration, the only country in the entire globe, on this earth, on this planet, that has mass incarceration and life without parole, highest than any other country. And many countries don't even have life and life without parole because they believe in second chances. They believe in second chances. They believe in rehabilitation. They believe in healing. If the resources are appropriate and out there for them. We have a serious problem country. And I wonder sometimes just exactly who is qualified to be experts on any TV shows. I have on with me an advocate, and she's also co hosting with me today, and her name is Esther Afield. And Esther, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, we're talking about right now, I'm talking about the issues in the United States of America with the, the government. And they're fighting back and forth between one another. The wealthy, the upper middle class, the wealthy, and the wealthiest. And the neglect the people in the communities are getting, and those in the prisons. So right now we have what's going on in the United States. We have the lower middle class and we have the poor in this country who are being completely ignored, while we have the upper middle class, the wealthy and the wealthiest, complaining about all the materialistic, all the wealth, all the monies that are being wasted going overseas, which is true, but also the monies that they're not getting. And every time we hear the president say everybody in this country, this the United States has never been in better shape because of all this money. This is someone talking about the wealthiest, the wealthy, and the upper wealthy. Yet the people in the communities, the people in the prisons, they're being subjected to nothing. I understand from seeing these emails coming through, the mails coming through, that the cost of living raise in the upcoming year is going to be lower than it has been in the past. You know, I hear about all of these, the Social Security may be changing. I hear about all these things going on. And my heart goes out to these people in the communities and in the prisons who are suffering the most. Because we have people in prisons who, at one time, many of them were victims before becoming offenders. And now they're in the prisons as offenders. They're not getting the treatment that they need, the psychological, the substance abuse. They're not getting the educational programs that they're crying out so desperately to have. But the politicians are being told that these places, these prisons, are providing educational programs. One of the things I want to also mention is the fact that a lot of these programs that have been taken from prisoners of color have been given to prisoners of a different race, of the Caucasian race, which I don't even know if the politicians are aware of this because there's no oversight in these prisons. I started a petition to replace the Department of Corrections with long-term residential mental health treatment facilities, and a petition to replace the DOC, the Department of Corrections, with long-term residential substance abuse facilities. And anyone that thinks that these long-term residential treatment facilities mean that they're going to be out in a couple of years if they did something serious, it doesn't mean that at all. But it does mean while they are incarcerated, they will be incarcerated in a more humane facility, getting the most appropriate treatment, mental health and or substance abuse. What are your thoughts on that, Esther?
Oh, my thoughts about that. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay. I believe that every person deserves respect and equal opportunities regardless of their background. And strong communities are built when people support one another and when everyone's rights are respected. And people that are in prison should be treated humanely and with dignity, while people should also be held accountable for crimes. Prisons should also provide opportunities for rehabilitation, education, and personal growth so that they can successfully return to society. And I also think it's important for everyone to have and equal treatment under the law. Communities become stronger when justice is fair and when people's voices are heard.
thank you. And
Yeah, that's what I think.
I want to say one thing, Esther. I'm so glad you said that because one of the things is I find people from other countries see it. You see it. Franz Dow is going to be on, and I'd like to have you on with us when he is on. He's going to be on a training session with us on on the 11th, but he's also going to be on the radio with us on the 18th of July. Franz Dow is a former 27-year warden from Amsterdam, and he's also been with the United Nations. He's been with the Ministry of Psychiatry. We're talking global. And he's also been with the International Red Cross, and he's also been with other organizations, which he's been advocating with other advocates in Texas and Massachusetts and elsewhere. But Franz Dow mentioned when he was warden, he made it a point to meet with some of his prisoners, but he called them by first name. He treated them with, as you said, Esther, with dignity. And he got the same respect from them. They respected him. And, it was like he would call them by first name, they would call him. But this is somebody that is not only a godly person, he's very respectable of other people to the point where he's respectful to anyone, even if they are behind those prison walls. We don't see that in this country. What we see in this country are people that are in the penal system who I believe may have been bullied when they were kids. Or if they weren't bullied when they were kids and they're taking it out on prisoners, they were bullies in school, causing a lot to be incarcerated today. We have people in the prisons who stick together not to do good, but to do evil with these incarcerated individuals. And we have politicians that are tolerant of this, and I don't approve of it. We have politicians that are so busy trying to keep up with their own peers. Everybody wants to look good around their peers. And that's why, as you know, Esther, I try to get everyone, I try to teach my volunteers to be leaders and not followers. And the reason I say this is because leaders make their own decisions. They don't judge someone they haven't met. They have to meet someone, they have to get to know that person. If that person does something against them, then I can see them treating that person differently. But when we see people who are supposed to be in leadership roles that are treating someone bad because their own peers are talking against that person whom they know nothing about, and all of a sudden they decide they want to look good with their peers. They don't want to lose that friend that they consider loyal to them. So they're going to go along with that friend to judge somebody they don't even know because that friend had a problem with it. That's what we have for leaders in this country. We have people that don't even know who they hate. And this country has gotten to the point where we hate people in other countries without even knowing their cultures, without knowing anything about them. And one of the things I've studied for years is religion and cultures. And one of the things about cultures is people, and you have cultures in your own homes. There's no home that doesn't have more than one culture behind those walls of their homes and their family members. There's no two people alike in the same household. And that's the same way it is in this globe, on this planet. There's no two countries alike with the way that they think and they do things, with their traditions, with their discipline. And yet we have people going to wars, unnecessary wars, and killing off so many innocent women and children because of their own beliefs and expecting other countries to follow suit with what they want to believe in. What are your thoughts on that, Esther? Let me ask you, Esther, in your family, is there anyone in your family who is exactly alike, that thinks the same way or agrees to everything?
What did you say?
Is in your family, in your household, are there
What did you
any
say?
in your household? Are there any two people who, in your household, your siblings or parents, whatever, that think the same way all the time? That have the same thoughts and the same everything. Is there any two people in your family exactly the same in the way they think or dress or act?
Yes, actually, my mom and my junior brother, they always like their thoughts. and whatever they say always like align. Like anything he says, my mom just agrees with him.
Now,
I
when
don't
she
know
does,
why, but always like that.
do you agree with them? Does everyone?
Yes, if I
Does every?
actually want that, yes.
So everyone in your family agrees at the same time with everything. There's no disagreements in anything.
Yes, we actually do, but not all.
Not always.
Yes, we actually do. They actually are disagreements, but not every time. Because people,
The connection is bad where she is. But what she's saying is that they agree in many cases and they disagree in many cases. And that's the way that's being discussed right now. No people always agree on the same things. And there's
yes,
different thoughts and ideas. You're back.
yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. You just came in and out
Okay,
before. You're back in now.
okay.
Yeah, we have to start talking about a lot of these things because people are just especially the middle class, the lower class, they're human beings just like the wealthiest, and we all see it all around us all the time. The ones that are suffering so much are the ones that politicians should be fighting for. Instead, we see a lot of, another thing is a lot of patting on the back because one of the things is all these. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I think you're coming in and out, Esther. Okay.
Sorry, I think it's the network over here.
Yeah, I noticed that in those countries sometimes there's a lot of interruptions. Connections are not good at all, especially around this time of the day.
Yes. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. But again, getting back to leadership, that's what leaders are about. Leaders make up their own decisions. They don't have to fear their these are their peers. They shouldn't have to fear their peers. They should be able to say to their peers, well, what you're doing is wrong. I agree with you on a lot of things, but what you're doing with this person or that person or those people are wrong. But we have people in this country that are so insecure that they cannot go up against their friends. If their friends are doing something or thinking away or saying something that they don't agree with, they're going to agree with it anyway. If they're talking about people or a person that they don't like, they're going to agree with their friends anyway because they're so afraid to be the leader that they are. So they're going to follow that friend. We see it in politics. We see it in the communities. We see it in the prison system. We see it in the hospitals, the nursing homes. We see it on the streets. We see it in wherever, the homeless shelters. These are things that we need to start growing up and being adults. And what we're listening to on the news all the time is a bunch of kids that know nothing about what's going on. I read an article today about a town meeting that was going on, and there was a 14-year-old girl at that meeting, and she kept raising her hand only to be ignored. And then when she finally did speak out, they immediately started to remove her, where she was trying to say, "I'm 14. I have something to say." They didn't want to listen to that 14-year-old girl. Well, that's what it's all about. Like she was saying when she was trying to speak, she was saying, "I'm the future. We're the future." And they didn't want to hear this girl. You see the media bringing on in all these people that have written books and all these big shots, bringing people from the communities because this is what everybody keeps talking about on the news is the American people. These people in the communities should be brought on the shows. They should be brought on CNN and Fox News and MSNBC and CBS and ABC. They should be bringing the people off the streets, bringing people who have something to say but don't ever get a chance to say it. But they prefer to bring in these big shots who have written books to help those big shots promote their books, while the people who really matter in the streets and in the prisons are being abused, are being neglected, are being tossed, are thrown out, acted like trash. This is what's going on in this country, in the United States of America. Never, never, never in years have I ever heard such ignorance coming from a country that was once so well respected because it had representatives from every country on the globe, in the globe, representing every country. And now it's about the wealthiest, the wealthy, the upper middle class, and that's it. But when they get rid of all the wealthy, when they get rid of all the poor in the middle class, the average citizens, they're going to be so bored that they're going to start going after one another. They'll be climbing the ladder until it becomes a country of this wealth, until there's no more prisons, because this country will be its prison in itself. Next week, next week we're going to be bringing on the 11th. We're going to be bringing on Frans Dahl from Amsterdam, former correctional officer. He's going to be on with us at a meeting that we're going to be having with all the volunteers. But on the 18th, as I say, we're going to have Frans Dahl and others, the special guests coming on, who are going to be speaking out about a lot of the things that most of you probably don't have a chance to talk about or don't want to, but the truth will be coming out. And we're going to be having more conversations about the incarcerated, about the people in the communities, about the wealthy and the lowest. We're going to be having people coming on to talk about a lot of these issues. If any of you are interested in coming on the show, a podcast at any time, just let me know. You can reach me on LinkedIn and Leona Abraham Brando, and you can just request to be on the podcast and I will send you the link. We're still working on trying to get the call-in features set up on this radio podcast. Once we get the call-in features, then everyone will be able to call in and ask their questions. And hopefully we'll have that done within the month, in addition to maybe some other things. But again, anytime you want to chat, just click on chat and come in. Okay. So we're going to be closing down pretty soon. As I said, I want everyone to start thinking about what's going on in this country. And I want everyone to start thinking about leadership versus followers. We have too many followers in this country. And you need to start making up your own mind, making your own decisions. As an advocate myself, when I hear of fellow advocates having disagreements, disputes, conflict, or whatever, I'm not going to take sides, and many advocates can tell you that. I don't take sides. I'm my own person. And a lot of times advocates will have problems, just like family members have problems with their siblings or their spouses, and eventually make up. You don't want to take sides, because if those people make up, you're going to be on the outside. That's a word of wisdom. Not only that, but your involvement, if anything, stay neutral, but at the same time, try to bring advocates together if they're all working for the same cause. And our cause is to make prisoners, the incarcerated men, women, and youth, to make things easier for them, to get the word out to legislative members and senators and lawmakers throughout the country of what needs to be done, to bring awareness that they need to do more, and they need to stop being fearful of the DOC, because the Department of Corrections has a union that is powerful. I believe that's why government officials are afraid to speak up or go or challenge the Department of Corrections. But you have to make up your mind. You're either for the people or you're for the Department of Corrections and other organizations that are abusing and not helping, that are not rehabilitating the incarcerated, that are not rehabilitating the sick, that are not rehabilitating the mentally ill and the substance abusers. but they're making them worse. And by now, I would think that everyone in this country would know that prisoners are not getting treated when they go into the prisons, are not being treated for their illnesses or their addictions or anger management. They're being made worse. Because as long as there's issues within the penal system with prisoners, the prisons, the Department of Corrections around the country are going to make millions and billions of dollars on mass incarceration in this country. These large corporations are making all kinds of money from these prisoners. I've had on my show psychosocial therapists from the Netherlands, former correctional officers from other states. I've had people on this show, even politicians from other states, who have spoken about the issues and the need for oversight of the Department of Corrections, for oversight over all these organizations, these funding organizations, that people that are receiving funds and doing nothing to help those who are crying out for help. This has got to stop. There has to be oversight. There is absolutely no oversight in this country. No oversight. And people wonder why this country is going downhill, why it's so dysfunctional. I want to thank you advocates out there, if you can hear. I want to thank all of you advocates out there that are ceaselessly helping the incarcerated individuals as well as those in the communities. I want to thank you because many of you are doing it individually, networking with other individual advocates. Many of you are doing it in organizations receiving no funding by having volunteers throughout the country and elsewhere. I want to thank Esther, and we're going to be talking about the volunteers who have dedicated themselves to an organization, New Vision organization, have gone out of their way to do the best that they can to try to bring about changes. I want to thank them, and I'm going to be talking about them and having them on the radio show one of these days in the near future, hopefully. In the meantime, we're going to be closing now, and I want to thank Esther for joining me on this. I want to thank you, Esther, for taking that time, and I know the connection is bad, and I know it's where you are right now. It's probably around 10 o'clock or close to it. So thank you for joining me. Audience, think about
Yeah.
what I'm
Thank you
Thank you, Esther. I want to thank
so
you,
much for inviting.
pardon?
Thank you so much, Miss Leona, for inviting me to be part of this conversation. I really enjoyed sharing my thoughts and learning from your perspective. Thank you.
Well, we're learning from you too, and this is why I say sometimes we need to learn about the various cultures around the globe. And I've been in 11 countries, and I've learned a lot from the people in all of these countries. And I've learned one thing: there's more peace, even though poverty may exist in more countries, in other countries. I've learned that the hospitality, the educate, the intelligence, the wisdom that people in other countries, like even your own, I know you have your conflicts in your country, but the thing is, there's there's more unity, there's more understanding, there's more wisdom, and I want to thank you for joining me. And I'm hoping that someday the audience can learn more from not only you in your country, but other countries as well, by listening to the good work that all of you are doing, including, as I say, with Frans Dow from Amsterdam and Mariam Jacobs from the Netherlands, and a lot of these other groups that are trying so hard to help the people in America, that they don't get acknowledged, they don't get known because they're not out there bragging about what they're doing. So I want to thank you again, and I want to thank you, audience, for listening in. We will be back on the show next Wednesday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and I hope you'll all join us. Thank you once again, and we